Hello friends, I'm Danielle and this is Hogan Life. I like to talk about everything mom related. So today I just want to go over 8 tips from a homeschooling mom of 7 who is constantly trying to tweak the things that I do to achieve my goals as a housekeeper and a homemaker while still maintaining my sanity. I believe that goes back. But first, before we get started, I just want to remind you that this is not about perfection. When you have little people in your home, or even if you have a husband, there are moving parts to your existence. I am a firm believer in not being neurotic about your house. I want to encourage moms everywhere to enjoy the journey. Having the expectation that your house will or can be spotless when you have small kids will make you crazy, or will detract from some of that happiness in your home that actually comes with being allowed to make messes, being allowed to be creative. That being said, most of us are not such neat freaks that our kids never have any fun. My kids have lots of fun. So probably many of us are on the other side of that extreme. We don't have the perfectly tidy house. We have rings around the tub and mess and clutter. Closets shoved full of things that we don't use. And let's face it, pee behind the toilet. I testify to that. So if you can relate with me and have trouble enjoying your kids and enjoying the journey and enjoying your house because everything that you have to get done is just so overwhelming, this channel's for you. This talk is for you. It's why I talk about routines and habits so much, because I know when those habits are established and become part of just your daily life, it helps us mamas so much. I feel like the zoo is out today in my house, so there's door slamming and people running up and down the stairs. So first, flat surfaces. Mind your flat surfaces. You can't always just drop everything you're doing and take care of the clutter that someone else brings into your house. That someone else is your children, your husband, your neighbor, your mother. I don't know, but everyone seems to come into your house and drop stuff on your flat surfaces. There's a couple things you can do. You can take 2 minutes, grab your laundry basket, empty, of course. You know I love my laundry basket. And you put every item of clutter that has attached to your surface into that laundry basket. And then you put it somewhere like the kitchen where you're constantly in and out, so you're able to distribute it where it goes. That's one thing. And if you do that a couple times a day, your surfaces will start staying cleaner. I also take a look at my surfaces when I'm going through the house, and if I see my children's stuff there, I grab that child and say, okay, put your stuff away. So that's another way I do it. And thirdly, if you are constantly walking by a surface where things are being piled on, pick something up every time you walk by and just put it in its rightful place. What I'm just trying to do is build an awareness of my flat surfaces so that I'm constantly maintaining them instead of getting to the end of the day and they're just totally overwhelming and I don't want to spend the extra 35 minutes to put everything away that those surfaces attracted. I have a video about flat surfaces, watch that. My second tip is break up your house. This is what I mean. I keep my house in 3 compartments mentally. I have my room, which is just my bedroom, my bathroom, and my closet, and it is my sanctuary. And then I have all the children's rooms and the upstairs. And then I have the living spaces. These are the spaces that people see. If someone comes over, drops something by, stops by, they're gonna see my dining room, my kitchen, and my living room, and quite possibly a bathroom. So that if the whole house has gone somewhere in a handbag, you can just focus on one area, and that is the living space, the area that people see. So I spend the bulk of my extra cleaning and my routine in that area. But when you break up your space, it's just a little easier mentally to say, okay, I'm only focusing on this compartment, only on what people see. My third tip is to pair the new routines that you want to bring in and establish with some of your old established routines. For instance, when I started making sourdough bread, I recognized it was a new routine that was going to have to go in my morning, and I wanted to put it in with something that I was already doing. So when I go down and I start the water for my coffee, I preheat the oven at that same time. I pull out the sourdough, I plop it on the counter. And so while I'm making my coffee, I'm also prepping for making my next loaf of sourdough and baking the loaf that's been sitting overnight in the fridge. So let's say you clear your table every night after you eat dinner. So the whole family maybe clears the table. You can at that time establish the routine of sweeping under the table because it's already established that you're cleaning at that time. It is, to me, so much easier to put another routine in with an established routine than to just come up with a time in the middle of the day and say, okay, I'm going to establish a new routine now. 2 o'clock, because nothing else is going on at that time. It's much harder to remember. My fourth tip is to use a timer. If you've watched my videos, you know I love the timer. But this is one thing I love about the timer. It gives you a real sense of perspective. Some tasks that you procrastinate because you think that's just going to take too long. If I set the timer and I'm going to get as much done on this task as I can, you realize it really doesn't take you that long. The timer is an extremely great motivator. Also, If you only have 10 or 15 minutes, you can just set the timer and say, I'm just going to do this task until it beeps. And that's it. Then I'm going to drop it and move on with my day. So what the timer gives us is a more honest idea of how long a task really takes. The next tip is don't wait until you have the time to do a task. You see your kitchen needs some work, serious work, and you're waiting for some water to boil. Just do one counter. Just do what you can. So don't be afraid to start tasks even though you won't be able to complete them at that time. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, if I start this, I will never go back to it. So I'm really relegating this tip to tasks that are very in your face, like things that you're going to have to get done throughout the day, like cleaning off your counters or doing your dishes. Instead of saying, okay, I can't get through these dishes right now, load 10. You could probably load 10. And that's what I mean by doing a little bit towards a task, even if you don't have the time to complete the task. Next tip is implement a 15-minute clean with your family. I love this one. We've been doing it for a long time. It's a variable as far as the time you want to put it. You can do it in the morning or the afternoon or the evening. A lot of times I like to reserve it for an afternoon activity. If I feel like the productivity of our day is just having a lull, or the kids are just acting a little bored, they're being antagonistic with each other, and I'm like, okay, we're going to do a 15-minute clean right now. And I set the timer. And kids love the energy and motivation of working together if you can motivate them into thinking that it's fun. And that is the mom challenge. But music and a good attitude from their mom. So sometimes we do it in the afternoon, and sometimes we do it in the evening after I've gotten the little kids to bed. And the more consistent you are with engaging your entire family with a 15-minute cleanup, the more they will fall into the routine of that without a lot of complaining. And maybe you want to start with 5 minutes. 10 minutes, 15, whatever is doable for the family. This tip is really important. It's clean your sink before you go to bed. I know you've heard it before, but this has been really important for me, and I'll tell you why. When I get up and my sink is clean, it inspires me to keep on top of the mess throughout the day. Whereas if I come down and there's a sink full of dirty dishes and it's just a rough start for my kitchen, I don't even feel like unloading the dishwasher. I've lost before I've began, so we'll just tackle it at the end of the night. That's a mentality I'm trying to get away from. I don't want to keep pushing things off to the end of the night. So that's why the sink plays such an important role. That shiny sink, the sink that is free of dishes and greets you in the morning with a brand new clean slate. So if you haven't gotten to the habit of shining your sink, I strongly encourage it. I recommend. My last tip is to keep moving. You've heard it said that energy begets energy, or a body in motion stays in motion. Well, I really try to put so much of my energy in the initial part of the day. I don't want to have the bulk of my routines in the evening. You might feel differently. It might be really therapeutic to clean the house after the kids go to bed. But so I really pack the morning in a really energetic way, and it works for me. So that's when I want to get my exercise in and my morning routines and chores done, the school with the kids, everything up until 1. And then I want to have a block in the afternoon that has some downtime. Living life with kids is a great adventure. Trying to keep your house clean is a great adventure. Thank you for joining me. Remember, no one can mom your kids like you. And here's to us in this great adventure, trying to keep our house clean with children.